Okay.
Γιατί θέλει δεύτερο? Γιατί δεν ζητάτε δύο? Δεν ξέρω, λέω το ζητήσαμε.
So, ich fange jetzt unwiderruflich.
Et je commence. Je commence. On commence. Prenez place. Mettez les écouteurs. Nous allons nous exprimer dans plusieurs langues. Nous avons une équipe d'interprètes. Bien.
It is my great honor today to make an award and to open this award ceremony. And before I do that, I would like to welcome a number of guests. We have Mr. Kuloglu here, and we've decided that I would make a few remarks, and then Stelios Kuloglu would undertake to present and introduce our guests, and then, of course, he will have the pleasure of naming the award winner and conferring the prize on that award winner. I would like to welcome everybody here.
Je vous salue. Cela fait déjà un...
Wegen der unsicheren Situation von vielen Journalistinnen, Journalisten, Whistleblowerinnen, Whistleblowern.
Unsafe and uncertain situation, as far as a lot of whistleblowers are concerned, that we would set up our own prize, our own award for journalists, whistleblowers and defenders of the right to information. I would like to take this opportunity to address the sister of Daphne. We're delighted that you are here. We worked with Mahru Caruana Galizia, who is unable to be with us. Unfortunately, he has fallen sick, and we are very sorry about that. And therefore, we're particularly pleased that Corinne Vella was able to join us this evening. Of course, I would like to address all of those who are behind this initiative of our group, and I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank Stelios Kuloglu, of course, but also Miguel Urban and Marisa Matias, who were very, very closely involved in preparations for this. I'm delighted that we're able to make this award this evening here. However, I have to say that it is regrettable that it is in fact necessary to set up such a prize. This is to make the general public aware of how important it is that we provide better protection for journalists, whistleblowers and defenders of the right to information, especially here in the European Union. The question is begged as to why we should need a prize. Surely in the European Union, the values of individual freedoms and freedom of the press should be guaranteed. It should be taken for granted that journalists can go about their business and do their job correctly unhindered. We know that journalists of the fourth power in a living democracy, without their work, we wouldn't have public opinion, we wouldn't have democratic debate. However, as we've seen, over the years, recently, it would be rather naive to believe that, in fact, these ideas reflect reality. In fact, it might be very dangerous and fatal. The murders of Daphne Caruana Galizia and Jan Kuciak and his partner have demonstrated this in the most dreadful way. We have worked on a number of initiatives as a group and introduced a discussion and debate on the case of Jan Kuciak and that assassination. The fact is these are events that have taken place within the European Union. We also want whistleblowers to be protected by our democratic societies because they are the people who provide very often information to journalists that is crucial and recognize the right and the need of these people who carry out the research that the journalists require, and the access to information and then making that public means that very often they risk their own lives, their own existence. Without the action taken by whistleblowers, we would be far poorer in terms of the debate that we can conduct at various levels within the European Union. The European Union, our criticism of that is that not enough is done to protect journalists and whistleblowers, and not just these people themselves are not protected, but the right to information is undermined, and therefore democracy. Reporters Without Borders have ascertained that in no region of the world is the situation in terms of freedom of the press worse or has worsened over recent years than in Europe. We often see a very hostile climate which leads against the media. Very often state repression is exercised against certain medias, and we see certain events where this stance, this basic criticism of journalists and the work they do is something that a lot of people have embraced and has led to hate speech and assaults on journalists. Now, the murders, of course, that I've just mentioned, iceberg in Poland and Hungary, in the media landscape over the recent months, things have worsened even more, and we want to put a stop to this. I would like to mention very quickly Daphne Caruana Galicia, who was born in Sliema and last year was assassinated. She was a very well-known blogger and Maltese journalist, well-known for her investigative work, controversial debate was very often the result of her work, but with her values and dignity, these hot debates and controversial debates became public knowledge, and she believed in a democratic society, and therefore she felt that that society should be in a position to deal with this. She began to work as a journalist and wrote for various newspapers, including the Malta Independent, and in the 90s was also co-editor. Basically, she had a blog called Running Commentary, and the results of her investigative journalism were published through that blog. She ensured that the blog was actually one of the most read blogs in Malta. Basically, corruption and money laundering and tax evasion were her key subjects. She spoke out against politicians and people in particular from the government, in particular Prime Minister Muscat. She demonstrated to what extent crime and corruption are rampant among the political elite. And we know that we're still in the dark about a lot of things, as before, but through her investigations, we've seen this investigations led to her cold-blooded murder. There are 3 men who have been arrested who are charged with organized crime. They may well be the murderers who were really behind this dreadful act. We still think we're in the dark on this. The working hypothesis of the police is concentrating on criminal reasons, a criminal background, but we do all know that that was not the real focal point of the work carried out by Daphne. Just about everywhere in Malta, there are suspicions of highly placed politicians and elite people, which have this has been ignored, basically, and up until now we've not seen any hearings of these elite politicians who were actually affected or concerned by the investigations carried out by Daphne. Therefore, at this point, I would like to make it absolutely clear that for us, as a group, this is a very important award because we want to send out a signal to this Parliament and to other institutions, to public opinion in the European Union. We know that the Parliament itself is thinking of a prize which would have the same name, but this would be exclusively for journalists. We want to make it absolutely clear that democratic public opinion dealing with themes such as corruption and misappropriation can only be done if we protect journalists, but also whistleblowers. And we hope that at the same time we can really start something moving so that the Parliament and other institutions can look more intensively to the work that has been done by whistleblowers and journalists. I would like, therefore, to congratulate everybody. We wanted to use this as a conclusion for next year, to draw conclusions for next year, and we wanted to see how well this can possibly work. It's a learning process that we're in together with all those participating, which is why at this point I would like to give the floor to Stelios Kouloglou. You can sit here in my seat if you like, Stelios. Sit here in the middle, in the chairman's seat, and chair the rest of this part of the meeting.
Somebody has to control the video as well. I'm playing the first video. It's about Daphne. There is a technical problem, so you have to use your headphones to listen to the sound. No, it's okay.
Daphne Caruana Galizia hat mit ihren Recherchen rund um die Panama Papers international für Aufsehen gesorgt. Sie hatte der First Lady Maltas vorgeworfen, ein Offshore-Konto zu besitzen und damit Geldwäsche im großen Stil zu betreiben. Im Interview mit dem Europa-Magazin erklärte sie im Mai diesen Jahres, eine ehemalige Bankangestellte
dead along with his fiancée, Martina Kushnirova. And he was investigating tax fraud business people with links to top Soviet politicians. And his murder in February toppled the Fico government, but they are still no closer to justice for his death. And what Jan Kuciak's death has demonstrated is how important it is that there should be transnational mechanisms for protecting journalists. Because we know through statistics, and now we know through experience, how dangerous and risky the business of journalism is. The Committee to Protect Journalists has shown that the most dangerous beat for a journalist is not reporting on war in other countries, but reporting on political corruption at home. It's a great misfortune that we had to learn this the hard way. And the sooner protection mechanisms are put in place for whistleblowers, and especially also for journalists, the sooner we are all much, much safer, because they defend our right to know, which is what this prize recognizes. Yep.
All right. Just a moment.
It's in English.
Now, before giving the award to the winner, we'll play a video about him.
Les premiers qui disent la vérité se verront-ils condamnés?
Verdict aujourd'hui pour les 3 lanceurs d'alerte de l'affaire LuxLeaks. Ils ont fait fuiter des documents sur ces ententes entre le Luxembourg et les multinationales pour leur faire payer moins d'impôts. Le parquet réclame 18 mois de prison contre Antoine Deltour et Raphaël Hallet, 2 anciens employés d'un cabinet d'audit, et une amende contre le journaliste Édouard Perrin. La justice du Grand-Duché doit se prononcer à 15 h.
Cet homme est au cœur d'un des plus gros scandales financiers que l'Europe a connu. Des milliards d'euros qui échappent aux caisses des États, dont la France. Il s'appelle Raphaël Hallet. Avec un autre Français, Antoine Deltour, il est poursuivi par le Luxembourg pour avoir livré à un journaliste des documents ultra confidentiels. Sans ces documents, l'affaire LuxLeaks n'aurait jamais éclaté. Ces révélations ont permis de mettre fin à des pratiques d'évasion fiscale organisées au profit de multinationales au cœur même de l'Union européenne. Pour cela, les 2 Français encourent pourtant de la prison ferme. Ce jour-là, ils vont connaître le jugement. Je ne suis pas neutre dans cette histoire. Je travaille avec Édouard Perrin, le journaliste qui a reçu les documents, lui aussi poursuivi par la justice luxembourgeoise. Mais je n'ai jamais connu les secrets de son enquête. Alors, je m'y suis plongé. J'ai eu accès à toutes les pièces du dossier. J'ai rencontré tous les protagonistes. Pour vous raconter, dans les coulisses de ce scandale mondial, l'incroyable histoire de Raphaël Hallet.
On se pose des questions sur la nature du personnage. On se dit qu'il a plusieurs visages.
Moi, je n'exclus pas l'hypothèse selon laquelle Raphaël Hallet serait une sorte d'espion.
Tu dis que ça peut être un piège?
Ah mais complètement, oui, bien sûr.
J'ai passé du temps avec Raphaël Hallet, beaucoup de temps, pour comprendre ce que c'était précisément d'être un lanceur d'alerte.
C'était une peur au ventre viscérale. Je me disais, je veux pas que tu partes en prison, je veux pas qu'on détruise notre famille. Il y a un tremblement de terre dans notre tête et on se dit, c'est pas possible, tout s'écroule.
On se dit, bon, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé, quoi?
Raphaël. La parole.
Merci beaucoup à tous. Je suis assez ému, honoré aujourd'hui d'être avec vous pour recevoir ce prix. Je ne veux pas monopoliser la parole très longtemps. Je voudrais juste dire que, à titre personnel, ça me touche parce que ça récompense plusieurs années de combat juridique au Luxembourg, notamment, pays de l'Union européenne, malheureusement. Ou heureusement, ça dépend dans quel camp on se place. Ce que je subis, ce n'est pas aussi violent que Daphne, par exemple, ou Jan Kuciak. J'ai encore la chance d'être en vie aujourd'hui. Ça récompense en quelque sorte juste l'énergie, le temps passé pour 4 procès pour le moment, peut-être un 5e à Strasbourg, la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme, et un 6e à Metz contre l'une des multinationales de la fiscalité. Parce que, un peu comme Jan et comme Daphne, on ne lâche pas l'affaire quand on...
Like Daphne, you don't let go once you think you're onto something that's just. When I see this prize today, I think that it's for all whistleblowers. When I see all the courage shown by Daphne and all the other whistleblowers, it's them we should thank. It's not easy for you. All those around Daphne or Jan, you've been through a lot these last years. Personally, I'd like to thank you for this prize, and also to my wife. It's not been easy for her these last years. She's had to go through all the pressure and the attacks. It's not easy. You're a little bit powerless. Whistleblowers and journalists, we know we have to do it. It's not necessarily a life for those around you have chosen. Thank you very much to her and to you.
Well, as you already know, we have split the prize into two. One is for Rafael Ale and the other for Jan Kuciak, the Slovakian journalist who was assassinated a few weeks ago. His family could not come, but his father sent us a letter which I'm going to read you right now, and also we're going to play it in the video. Okay. Good evening. As Jan's father, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to each remembrance of Jan and Martina. Our whole family and Martina's family as well are glad that the cold-blooded murder that took our children's life does not leave the members of the European Parliament indifferent. At the same time, I would like to ask the European Parliament and all its members to see to it that it's not only this terrible matter, but also the affair, as Jan was writing about, to be properly investigated. That's how it goes in our young democracy. The representatives of the government claim that they are the only ones who could bring Slovakia to the developed Europe. On the other hand, these representatives reallocate the major part of the financial support from the European funds to their own family members or friends. This is, of course, one of the reasons why Slovak citizens do not trust the European community. Those who criticize the Slovakian government are incompetent and do not understand the problems. Those are the words, more or less, of the representatives of all departments' ministries. If I am to judge from these words, we are apparently a nation of ignorant people without our own opinion. Another expression popular among our government representatives is, let's wait for the decision of the law enforcement agencies. That's exactly what I'm the most afraid of. The investigation either does not take place at all, or facts are not proved, or even there has been an error in the procedure. And the result? No bigger case concerning the so-called our own people, that means people close to the current Slovak government, has ever been investigated. Therefore, I would like to address the European institutions and ask them to supervise the investigation of our children's killings. I know that nobody and nothing will bring Jan and Martina back, but as religious people, we pray every day and hope that their souls already enjoy eternal blessedness. It will, however, give us some satisfaction if their deaths were kind of meaningful for the society. We will be gratified if justice won, if corruption at all levels was eliminated, so that the people will not have to bribe, because if there are no bribes, there is no corruption. That is what our Jan was fighting for. I would like to thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. My warm regards, Josef Kuciak, Senior, father of Jan Kuciak. Slovakia, Stiavnik, 24 of May of 2018. That's So we will send this symbolic award together with a financial award to the family of Jan Kuciak. And now I would like to give the speech for some moments to the members of the jury to comment on their vote and explain you. I will start from Stéphanie Zibaud. She's a very well-known whistleblower in France. She blew the whistle on the illegal financial activities of the bank UBS. She's also the author of some books which are very much related to our prize today. Her latest book is The Hunt to Break Down Whistleblowers. So, Stephanie?
Well, thank you, Stelios. I would like to thank you very much, and to thank the ones who have accepted to take me on board as a member of this jury. Yes, as you said, I am a whistleblower, and when I blew the whistle 10 years ago, I had never heard
of that name, and obviously I did not know what it was to be a whistleblower. In my view, I was, and I still am, a witness, and I'm a woman who just said the truth. And when I blew the whistle 10 years ago, I didn't know that I wouldn't be protected. I followed all the French laws. I trusted my country, France, the justice of France, and our top politicians. So, dear Raphael, I hope I won't cry. Yes, we are lucky enough to be still alive. Being awarded such a prize tonight for you is a recognition of the work and of the energy you have developed, I'm sorry, so that all of us get to know the LuxLeaks file a bit better. It's also a recognition of a complicated life you and Sophie have suffered so far and are still suffering. Watching the documentary a couple of minutes ago, I wondered why no one talked about the banks of these multinational companies. It's amazing, because obviously these multinational companies have banks in Luxembourg, and I have a little idea of which ones are involved. What is common in all the experiences of the whistleblowers worldwide is their individual responsibility. It's their courage for the truth to be known. It's the discredit we have all suffered from, focused on the messenger, not on the message. We have all been taken to court before the ones responsible for the frauds, covering the frauds, or enjoying the frauds. We have been harassed, we have been made redundant, and we have faced loneliness. Whistleblowers lose their health, their energy, their job, their career, their friends. They turn their kids' childhood into nightmares for having been honest, for helping administrations and civil servants to do their job. Whistleblowing is a fight for human rights versus protection of hidden of transparency and ethics, which will allow the truth to win. As we physically are here in France, founding member of Europe, as we are here in Strasbourg, as Raphael is French, and I'm French myself, let me remind you that the so-called country of human rights has freedom of speech, freedom of expression in its constitution. It's also suffering really hard from the corruption of some of its political elites, from a very dangerous protection law against so-called fake news, and the business secrecy law that will definitely jeopardize freedom of speech, thus the truth to win. Is it worth it to repeat that both Edward Snowden and Julian Assange have been refused asylum in France by l'Élysée? How could we thus believe that France defends the truth and protects whistleblowers? We have to stand united to defend our citizens' rights. However, I'm an optimistic person, and I believe in exemplarity, integrity, and action that all of you represent here. So may this award in the memory of Daphne, offered to Raphael and Jan Kuciak, pave the way to the philosophy of ethics implemented both in business and politics. Then it will allow the truth to win, and we will all be safer. We have to keep in mind that ethics in our administrations and companies, ethics in politics, is the key to our democracies. Thank you.
Jan who is also a member of the jury, is one of the best investigating reporters in Greece.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα σας. Θα μιλήσω ελληνικά και ως δημοσιογράφος θα προσπαθήσω να ξεπεράσω τη φόρτιση που υπάρχει έτσι κι αλλιώς και θα αρχίσω από την είδηση. Σήμερα λοιπόν η είδηση είναι ότι για πρώτη φορά στην ιστορία του θεσμού οι μάρτυρες δημοσίου συμφέροντος δεν θα δεχθούν απειλές για τη ζωή τους, ύβρις και εκβιασμούς, θανατηφόρα βόλια, αλλά
violent hate speech will not be used against them. We will be giving prizes to people for whistleblowing and their journalist investigative work, for trying to shed light on the truth and to ensure that people involved in misappropriation of public funds and scandals and misleading the public shall be brought to punishment. We talk about, of course, very precious information held due to banking secrecy and other types of confidentiality, which must be broken. This has led to governments falling throughout the world and people being punished. However, a number of witnesses have lost their jobs, sometimes their lives. Journalists are also in danger when they investigate such cases. We have, of course, one prime example, which is Daphne, who was assassinated in her car in October 2017, and we have members of her family with us today. Now, taking this opportunity with this initiative from the GUE NGL and Mr. Kouloglou and Stelios, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. I would like to focus on my country, Greece, but also talk about the general situation in terms of the legal situation and the institutional situation and the general culture, how people really perceive this in public opinion. Beginning with how this example of a scandal in Greece which broke out, which you may have heard of, with the company Novartis. So during the investigations, when the corruption prosecutor came across politicians, including 10 former ministers, including a couple of prime ministers, this file was sent to the parliament. The next day, when some of the case files came into public knowledge, there was an attempt to maintain a certain amount of anonymity, and all the people involved here decided to try and cover up and hush up what was happening. Of course, the people who were the whistleblowers, who were from Novartis, spoke out with proof and evidence. And the reaction was, we want to see who the people are behind this, who's wearing the hood. Wearing a hood is a very negative term in Greece, because during the German occupation, people who collaborated with the Nazi Germans wore hoods over their heads. Now, therefore, everything was done to try and stop the truth coming out, and this is the problem with people who do not protect whistleblowers, as we've seen from the videos. The actual essence and substance of the scandal here and in other countries where the FBI and so on have been involved as well, we've got to focus on the ultimate objective, as we saw from the videos with the victims that we saw, the idea being to ensure that we would not allow anybody to get to the essence of the case. In a lot of cases, in Greece, for example, a lot of problems are due to economic and financial scandals in the health sector and public works, for example, and procurement. And as we speak, efforts are being made by the corruption prosecutors to find the people who are responsible for the economic situation of Greece. But the general economic situation and framework in Greece, in spite of efforts that have been made, show many shortcomings, as is the case, for example, in other countries such as France, as we saw in Mr. Allé's case. Now, in 2001, a law was introduced on crime, organized crime, and links with terrorism, and this was the first mention of protection of witnesses. And there was an article which suggested that they should be pursued, but their names should not be revealed. We have a convention against organized crime which has been signed in Greece, and Mr. Kordonis, our Minister for Justice, has set up a preparatory committee to look at the legislative framework for protection of whistleblowers. But of course, as everywhere, legislation is not enough. We are in a better position institutionally. The question is, will people's mindsets change? Will we implement the laws? Now, the most shocking recent example is the case of Maria Efimova, who helped Daphne Caruana Galicia to investigate the question of the Prime Minister of Malta. Mrs. Efimova is in Greece at the moment, waiting to find, hoping that she will not be extradited to Malta because her life is in danger there. The lawyer from Malta revealed to us that there are names of Greek politicians, amongst others, involved here. We have found out recently that the Supreme Court has not taken into account the danger to Mrs. Efimova's life. There are, of course, the European Court of Human Rights has also got involved in trying to harmonise protection for whistleblowers. But of course, all of this is at the discretion of every government which wishes to shed light on revealing various cases of scandal and corruption in their country. Thank you.
Marisa.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much. Well, we don't have very much time. In fact, we're really at the end of our time. I don't think it makes any sense for me to speak for very long, but this time is not for us. It's for our guests, and the prize is for them. Allow me just to say it has been a pleasure to work on this jury with so many courageous, valiant, brave people. It was really thanks to the work of Raphael Allais and that we were able to set up these two, Tax 1 and Tax 2. It's thanks to them we were able to set up these committees. And that shows very clearly, at least from where I'm sitting, how we can channel our disgust and our anger about the terrible things that go on, and we can channel these into committees to protect the people who take the lid off these scandals. So thank you. It's great to have worked with Stephanie, also the two women on this jury, including myself, and I think our work really makes sense when we do this. Jan Kuciak would have been 28. He's no longer with us, and Daphne is also missing. She's an inspiration to us all, and I think will help us all to do a better job. Thank you very much.
Miguel.
Well, I'd like to say the same as Marisa from the point of view of the fact that we're running out of time. I would, however, like to thank the communication department from GUE and all the work that they've done to make this prize possible. I'd like to thank Stelios' team, particularly Penny, for all the work that they have done too, to really make this prize a possibility. We're up here on the table, you can see us, but there are so many people who've been working behind the scenes to work very hard to make sure that this has really come to pass, and it's good to acknowledge their work. It's fundamental. When we discussed this prize, we said it was very important to highlight the work of whistleblowers like Jan Kuciak, who've paid such a high price, well, with their lives, the highest price, to ensure that people have the right to information. As Marisa said, the information that we have got has gone into our investigative committees, right now, which, of course, doesn't guarantee the safety of people who've helped to bring that information to light. In Spain, we've got somebody whose work to recover 1.3 billion euros in money that's from tax evasion. Now I'm fighting for their safety in Switzerland. So this is a struggle. We're up against one of the most important financial factors. You know, we're talking about banks, we're talking about fraud, we're talking about tax evasion. There's a black hole particularly at this time in which our finances are supposedly running short. Certainly for the common people, the money is short. But this is not just a fight for Kuciak, Khalek, Daphne, and others. It's a fight that we're all fighting. We've got to make a stand, and we're all with Khalek, with Kuciak, and we're against Juncker and institutions which do nothing